Hey everyone, this is Ochify, your host for Ochify, the game business podcast. I've been in the game industry for about 20 years, mostly on the business side. On this show, I'll share my thoughts and insights on industry news and things I've heard. In this day and age, I believe it's super important to have your own perspective on the world rather than just knowing facts. My goal is to provide better insights for everyone involved in business. But, talking about serious stuff all the time can be tiring. My friends call me the East Asian B-grade gourmet king. Basically, I'm a big foodie, so I'll also share some gourmet info. Today, besides game industry news, I'll talk about my experiences at Gamescom, which I just visited last week in Cologne, Germany, and some of my German food adventures. All right, let's get into it. Game business topic. First up, the news from mobilegamer.biz's podcast on August 12th. Japan's famous mobile game, Uma-musume Pretty Derby, is climbing the charts, a cult following. So Uma-musume Pretty Derby, a Cygames title, saw increased revenue in Western regions in July, according to AppMagic's estimated data for that month. Sales-wise, Japan brought in $14.8 million while the US was at $13.7 million. And when you add in other European markets, the total for English-speaking Western markets actually surpassed Japan's revenue. That's about 2 billion yen for Japan. So yeah, the Western English-speaking market really went above it. That's good news. The growth factors seem to be wider reach thanks to its release on Steam, increased attention from streamers, and gacha luck really impacts success. Sometimes the luck element can win out, even if you have perfect stats. I guess gacha was, to some extent, accepted there. For the future, the initial post-launch hype will probably cool down. Still, it's pretty typical for Japanese content to grab attention in the West. It's actually quite hard for Japanese mobile games to sell well in the West. There aren't many examples that immediately come to mind, like Dragon Ball Dokkan Battle. There's always this question of how will gacha be received in the West? But then you have Genshin Impact, which is super popular in the West, so it doesn't necessarily mean gacha is a no-go. Honestly, I'm not super knowledgeable about mobile games, so I apologize if I can't explain this part thoroughly. But anyway, it's great to see these cute girl games from Japan are doing well in the West. The popularity of this kind of graphic style or world view is really picking up, much more than before. I think a big reason for that is how much Japanese anime is now being shown overseas. Yeah, it's really fantastic news. Okay, second piece of news. This is from an August 5th article on pocketgamer.biz. Roblox's daily active users, DAU for Q2 this year, April to June, shot up by 41% year over year, reaching 112 million. That's incredible. User engagement time on the platform also increased by 58% year over year to 27.4 billion hours. Monthly unique paying users increased by 42% year over year, averaging 23.4 million, and revenue grew by 21% year over year to 1.08 billion. However, it's still operating at a loss. They reported a net loss of 279.8 million. So basically, they earned 1.08 billion but spent around 1.36 billion. But still, user growth is huge. That DAU of 112 million, I think it was around 30 million just 3 years ago. I remember hearing someone from Roblox speak at a game conference in San Francisco 3 years ago. The company's official line is that it's all thanks to strategic investments, but what's really happening is that some incredibly popular games have emerged on the platform recently, like Grow a Garden and Steal a Brainrot. I haven't played them myself, but I looked them up. Grow a Garden is basically a Farmville-style idle farming game, and Steal a Brain Rot is also a nurturing game where you have your own field, bring in these characters called Brain Rots, earn in-game money, and can even take other people's brain rots. Just watching videos on YouTube, they look pretty fun and casual. Both of these games just came out this year. Grow a Garden in March and Steal a Brain Rot in May. Seriously, Roblox can't be ignored anymore. I might have talked about it in the first episode, but what's interesting is that these two games, even though they have creators, like Grow a Garden was apparently made by a 16-year-old creator, these aren't necessarily people you'd call game developers. When concurrent users hit around 1,000, the games were acquired and the projects became professional. It's almost like a YouTuber-style emergence, not some setup, but rather people playing within the Roblox world, creating their own games for everyone to enjoy. That's totally different from buying games on Steam, PlayStation Store, or Nintendo eShop, right? And Roblox's overall quarterly revenue is $1.08 billion. If you just multiply that by 4, that's about $4.4 billion a year. In Japanese yen, that's around 600 billion yen. That's about 40% of Nintendo's annual sales, or 20% of Sony's. Oh, and in their announcement, Roblox said they want to capture 10% of the game market. But with their current revenue, if they just grow 4 or 5 times, they could actually get there. It's not like they need to grow 100-fold, so it doesn't sound impossible at all. Yeah, Roblox is huge with teenagers. I tried it a bit, but honestly, I couldn't get fully into it, though Steal a Brain Rot does make me want to give it a shot. Anyway, this is really like a watershed moment, a completely new phenomenon. It's different from the old model of game companies making and releasing games. I think what makes games popular on Roblox isn't just whether they're fun in a traditional sense. For games like Grow a Garden or Steal a Brain Rot, from a hardcore gamer's perspective, you might even call them generic, but that just means game quality isn't the only thing that matters. It's about players being able to compete within the platform, or social fun, or games being community-driven. It's just so different from before. Apparently, Grow a Garden and Steal a Brain Rot were sort of competing on a social level, trying to get more concurrent users, and together they pulled in about 47 million concurrent users. That's even more than Steam's 40.2 million back in March. Oops, I got a little sidetracked there. There have been some questions about bots inflating those concurrent user numbers, but even if you factor that in, the fact that millions or tens of millions of users are active means it's a powerful marketing tool. There's really potential there. Thinking about all this, it makes me feel like the game business still has so much room for new developments and opportunities. I don't have all the answers yet, but let's all think about it together. Gamescom impressions. Next, I want to talk about Gamescom. Gamescom happens every year from mid to late August, from Thursday to Sunday, in Cologne, Germany, which is famous for its cathedral. It's held at the Messe Exhibition Center. As far as I know, it's probably the largest game industry event in the world. I've been lucky enough to go for 4 consecutive years now, starting in 2022. It's like a fixed point observation, and after going for 4 years, you really start to understand things. One of Gamescom's key characteristics is that its B2B, business-to-business component is quite large, although there's definitely a B2C, business-to-consumer, side too. I'll talk about both. Regarding B2C, it might seem obvious, but I really felt it this time. You could clearly see which companies were doing well and which weren't. In Japan's case, companies like Nintendo, Capcom, Bandai Namco, and Konami really grabbed attention with strong titles and lively booths. Nintendo, for example, had a surprise announcement of a new Kirby game right before Gamescom, and they were offering playable demos. I didn't have time to line up and try it, but it looked like a lot of fun, of course. I also heard from a YouTuber friend who did some reporting that Capcom's Pragmata, a completely new title, was really interesting. Several media people mentioned it, so I heard that too. Is it coming out next year? I don't think it's this year, but it was getting a lot of attention. I've been talking a lot about Japan, but of course Western companies were also there, like Blizzard, showcasing World of Warcraft. And honestly, the momentum from Chinese companies is just growing and growing. Beyond Tencent and NetEase, there were others like Paper Games with Love and Deep Space. Was that the Japanese title? They had a huge display. The wait times for new game demos were pretty intense too. For example, S-Game's Phantom Blade Zero demo had a 200-minute wait. That's an action game. I didn't get to see all the games thoroughly, but my impression of the Chinese companies is that they're really making high-quality, well-developed games. I've worked with Chinese people before, and they relentlessly pursue rationality, so they're incredibly fast and catch up quickly. I think their development capabilities will continue to grow and their presence will expand even further in the future. For the past 2 or 3 years, Gamescom and other expos too, you really feel that momentum. Also, speaking of Asia, I guess there were Korean companies. Several Korean companies exhibited like Krafton from PUBG fame, who were really working hard on their new title, Inzioi. Yeah, I felt their momentum too. On the B2B side, it's basically a place for major game companies to hold business meetings and for various companies in the game-related business to set up booths. This year, I noticed 2 big things. First, there's been a rise in payment companies. This is probably in anticipation of payment options becoming available outside of the iOS and Android stores. So you see local payment companies popping up in Asia, Europe, and America, and global players like Xsolla are also aggressively expanding. Second, it felt like there were more booths for local regions, countries, or states than before. Every year, you see France, Brazil, Korea, Japan, and even places like Quebec, not a country but a state, or Zhejiang province in China. This year, I saw Romania and Qatar for the first time. They might have been there before, but it felt like these regional booths are increasing. I think this is because the game business, when it grows, can really boom, and these regions are probably hoping to benefit from the corporate tax revenue. So it's about attracting and supporting the industry. That's what I felt. Gourmet Information Corner. Next up, the Gourmet Info Corner. This time it's about Mett, which I ate in Germany. What is it? It's raw minced pork. You eat it on bread. I first discovered it 3 years ago when I stayed near a butcher shop in Cologne. At first, I didn't know it was raw minced pork. It was red, so I thought maybe it was like prosciutto or something with some onions on top. But when I looked it up, it was raw minced pork. The taste, it's kind of like negatoro, minced fatty tuna, especially with the onions. So yeah, they eat raw minced pork in Germany. The law is apparently quite strict about it. They don't allow processing above 2 degrees Celsius, and using ice for cooling is also forbidden. Unpackaged Mett can only be sold on the day it's made. It's delicious. If you Google Mett pork raw, you'll find it. I loved it so much this time that I invited other Japanese colleagues, and we went for 3 days straight. I ate it with different groups and individuals from Japan over those 3 days. Everyone raved about it. Cologne isn't a direct flight from Japan. Usually you fly into Frankfurt and take the German high-speed train. So on my way back, I stopped in Frankfurt and stayed at a friend's place. What I realized this time, including the food I ate there, is that Germany actually has a lot of delicious food. Like mushroom salad, and there was a delicious bakery near my friend's house where people were lining up. I bought some and ate it. The raisin bread was so good, so I was quite satisfied with the food, thanks to my friends and the people who invited me. This time my discovery was Germany actually has surprisingly good food. Closing remarks. All right, time to wrap things up for today. Please, I'd love to hear your thoughts and feedback. You can reach me on X, Twitter, at Yuichi If you think something I said wasn't quite right, please point it out. Also, if there's anything you'd like me to cover, let me know. I plan to do the next episode in early September, where I'll gather industry news and chat about various topics. Until next time, take care. Goodbye